game. That was last Tuesday.
Yeah, it was. And all right, so all right, YouTube's live now. What's up, guys? This is Pay for Play basketball show. We're actually switching it up a little bit. Rex just did Daily Bread with Sosa, so I'm giving him a little bit more time off. I got my guy, big college basketball guy. Love this guy. D-Rock Sports Bet is here. He's going to be co-hosting with me today. If you just want to say what's up, give people a little overview of who you are, what you're doing out here.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me again. Right now, it's college basketball season, so we just had the ESPN tournaments last week. We're going to recap that a little bit and then touch base on the top 25 and where we're kind of surprised with some of the rankings today. But other than that, got some college basketball to talk about.
Yes, sir. Let's get it. What's up, Rory? Love seeing you here every week. Same thing with you, Tennessee. You're always in here for us. Love to see that. And so I'm just gonna get right into it real quick. We had some real good preseason tournaments this week. My favorite one, honestly, was the Battle for Atlantis. Not just because UConn was in it, but because we had pretty much the best games. You know, UConn Auburn double overtime, 115, I think it was 108. And then that championship game, Baylor kind of pulled away a little. Yeah, Baylor kind of pulled away a little bit. But after the way Michigan State lost to Kansas to start the year, they really impressed me with their defense. The way they were able to pull it out against Loyola and the way they were able to come back against UConn in the second half. I mean, they surprised me in a good way. But I mean, what were your thoughts on that one?
Michigan State in the UConn game. I called the Michigan State plus money line. I mean, you and I talked about it. Double overtime with UConn. I mean, they were just going to be tired. I mean, they played good in the first half, but it was written on the wall that they're going to be tired going into this game. I mean, Michigan State, they're lucky they got a good defense because UConn can really put the ball in the hoop. But playing a close game against Loyola too the night before, I mean, that was just pretty impressive to see by Tom Izzo to keep playing these guys consistently.
Yeah. I mean, with UConn, you could tell it was going to be a down game for them. So when they went up like 5 with about 6 minutes to go, I was pretty surprised. But I mean, I couldn't expect them to sweep those 3 games against a really good Auburn team and then 2 really good defensive teams in Michigan State and VCU. So for them to get out of there 2-1, I was pretty impressed by. And I think the AP poll kind of reflected that with them still moving up 2 spots from 19 to 17 this week. I think they understand like the grind that they went through. But so I think that one just talent wise was the best. Granted, we all knew Baylor was coming out of their side. Like Syracuse has been disappointing pretty much all year. VCU actually surprised me a lot more than I thought they would. And Arizona State, I swear, at this point, I don't think it matters what kind of recruits Arizona State brings to their team. They're always going to end up being just like an average, slightly above average team. Like there's no getting out of that for them.
Yeah, Arizona State stole Josh Christopher from Michigan last year, and they were supposed to be a really good team, and they just played average again.
Yeah, that's. I feel bad because it's one of the Hurleys coaching them, but I mean, when you got top 25 guys on your team almost every year now, and you still can't finish higher than 4th or 5th in the Pac-12, you got deeper problems than the guys on the team.
Right.
But I think the biggest what would you say was like the biggest surprise early season tournament? Would you say it's Iowa State winning the NIT or Dayton after that terrible stretch they had, bouncing back and winning the ESPN Invitational with wins over Belmont and Kansas?
Seeing Kansas lose was pretty surprising to me, but one thing that surprised me was, Michigan State playing the way they did. I mean, I don't want to get off that yet. I thought they would lose to Loyola, and I'm not really sure how they were able to beat them. I thought Loyola was the better player here or the better team here. And I mean, in this spot, being able to squeeze one out against Loyola and back on UConn, I mean, that they might be my most surprising team right now, because I did not, after that first game of the season, I did not think they were that good.
Yeah, I was on the same boat as you. I had a Loyola money line ticket in that first game.
Yeah.
It was a tough way to lose it, but when you got a 7-footer there running to the rim, that's going to be tough to stop. I mean, I think we kind of knew they had some guys. What surprised me most is the way they're winning without big contributions from their best freshmen. Like, I haven't seen a lot from Max Christie to prove to me that he's as good as where he was ranked coming out of high school.
No.
So, I mean, the fact that they're doing it more with Bingham and the other bigs and just like the guys like that, that did surprise me. But I still think Iowa State, I guess Iowa State's my biggest surprise.
I mean, Iowa State is 6-0 now, right? They're ranked within, I think they're 19.
Yeah, I think it's more just because of the teams they've beaten overall. Like
Absolutely.
For them beating Jesus Christ, the way they beat Memphis, and then I know they had some other pretty big wins. I just got to go back and find them real quick.
Xavier was a huge win for him.
Yep, Xavier was big, and then wow, all right, can't believe I can't find that, but whatever. So yeah, just like I know they've beaten like 3 teams that they should have had no business beating. So for them to be 6-0 after that is definitely surprising. I don't see them being able to run the gauntlet in the Big 12 though. Like
I don't think so either.
Now I'm gonna give them the respect of, they might be able to pick off a team here or there, but they can't. Like, they're not gonna be able to go through a stretch of Texas, Kansas, Baylor, and get out of there even 2-1. Like, I think they would be happy going 1-2 in those games, even just like a Texas Tech at this point, or not Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma's like that. I don't think Kansas State's like that. TCU maybe is around where they should be at. They might be a little better than TCU, but yeah, no, I'm gonna have to give, like, I think they're still the worst team out of the 3 teams that won the tournaments, but I think Dayton's my biggest surprise because they looked like they were absolutely dead in the water after they lost to Lipscomb, and those other 2 losses were bad too. This shit wants to load. So yeah, so they lost. So they lost to Austin Peay, they lost to Lipscomb, they lost to UMass Lowell. After those 3 games, for me, I did not think they were getting up off the mat after those 3 type of losses. And you come out, you have a good shooting night, you handle Miami, come out, beat Kansas on a buzzer beater, and then are able to hold off Belmont. I mean, 2 of those wins, like, that is about as good of a stretch as they can have if they want to build their resume towards March.
Oh yeah,
because you'll have some chances in the A-10, but you're not getting the chances you're getting in a Power 5. So to come in and show the committee, just like bang, win over Miami, win over Kansas, win over Belmont, who probably won't have more than 4 losses at the end of the year. That's big for them. I still don't think they have a chance to win the A-10, but they might be. We'll be talking about them on the bubble in the middle of March.
When it comes March, that's that team that the number 2, number 1 seed doesn't want to get matched up with.
100%.
That's a Oral Roberts Ohio State matchup right there. If they get matched up with one of those teams.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like we saw, those first 2 teams that won their tournaments, Michigan State and Iowa State, it got reflected in the top 25 poll because Iowa State jumped all the way up from unranked, not even receiving votes, to their 19th and just 1 spot below the team that they beat, Memphis, who's at 18. And then you got Actually, I almost completely missed out on Wisconsin. I don't remember what tournament they were in exactly, but
Wisconsin beat Houston.
yes, Wisconsin had a great tournament. They had the comeback win over Texas A&M. They beat Houston, and then they won the championship against somebody. I'm blanking on who they beat because
I
it
can't
was
remember who
Wisconsin, and I was
Wisconsin
just
beat.
like, nah, Wisconsin's not like that. It was
Well, it's
shoot.
because you got Pete Davidson, who's been playing there for 7 years now.
Oh man, that fucking guy is he's probably older than me still. Like I would have been out of college. I would have been out of college 3 years ago at this point. And I think he's still older than me. Out here playing in his fucking he got a whole NBA career just playing at Wisconsin right now.
Yeah, I tuned into that Wisconsin game, Wisconsin Houston matchup, and I seen him make a three. I was like, well, how is this dude still playing?
Yeah. And they beat they were actually able to get past St. Mary's in the championship game.
Oh yeah,
Was their win. Yeah.
yep. I was on St. Mary's side on that one. I just did not. I still don't know if I believe in this Wisconsin team, to be honest. But I mean, they've gotten some impressive wins.
Yeah, they've shown some good things. That's for sure. I think just sticking towards teams that have fallen a little bit. I mean, I don't think Alabama's bad, but you still got to beat Iona. I know
Yeah,
they have a great coach, but the talent disparity there, Alabama needs to find a way to win that game. And
Alabama's biggest problem is they live and die by the three. And as soon as Rick Pitino was able to guard that, they were not able to stay in that game.
yep. And then Michigan. What's going on, Michigan? Like what'd you do? Did you transfer all your talent from the basketball team to the football team so they can beat Ohio State one time?
Hey,
Like is that what happened here?
I'll take it. I'll take one win for Michigan football every 8 years if that's what you're telling me I'm getting. Nah, dude, Michigan's basketball team, though, right now, they're hurting from the three-point line. And honestly, they look way better right now when Eli Brooks is running the point guard position than Devontae Jones. Devontae Jones, turnover after turnover, foul after foul, and it's constantly shooting these guys in the foot. He's not a bad player. I mean, he's giving you like 10, 5, and 5 a night, but it's one of those things where you're supposed to be that senior guy, like last year when they brought in Shawnee Brown and Mike Smith. Michigan doesn't have that guy this year. They got Eli Brooks, he's a leader, but he's forced into that position now that Livers is gone and Shawnee's gone. And then your next veteran leader is Hunter Dickinson. So you got Hunter Dickinson, a sophomore center who's supposed to look at as a veteran leader. And it's not working.
Yeah, I swear. Hey, it's the old adage for us gamblers, man. Good teams win, great teams cover. I think Michigan might only be a good team because they're probably 1-5, maybe 2-4 against the spread.
I think they're 1-5 this year against the spread.
And I think the only game they covered was it either would have been against UNLV or it would have been against Prairie View because I know they didn't cover the Buffalo game.
You're
There's
right.
no way they covered. No way they covered against Tarleton State, only winning by 11, and then lost to Seton Hall. They got run off the floor against Arizona. Arizona was. They were a team I did not believe in coming into the year, but they have looked amazing so far this year. Like just the athleticism, it looks like they finally are committing to want to play fast, which is something I love from them. I think they need to play that way. Like the offense, they put up 80 points every game. Even like they look so good against Michigan, that's still their lowest scoring output of the game of the year is 80 points.
Yeah, it's because that Michigan game, they brought Hunter Dickinson up to guard the point guard at the 3-point line every time. I think they had at least double-digit alley-oops for any big man. I mean, they could have put their fourth-string big man in, who's a walk-on super senior, and they still could have got buckets inside the paint.
Yeah, they could have, but let's stop talking about these teams at the bottom. I'm gonna talk. I do it every week. Everybody who's in here every week already knows what I'm gonna say. Villanova should not be number 6. Let's be honest. 2 losses. They run a short bench. They like teams that can run, teams that'll play physical and can guard them on the 3. Villanova will lose to way more often than they should. They have a good coach. He can scheme up ways to get them a lead in the first half. But when guys are gassed, guys get exposed. It happened in the second half against UCLA. It happened in the second half against Purdue. It'll happen in more second halves than that by the end of the year. And it'll lead to an exit before the Elite 8. For sure.
That's the only reason they have them in the top 6 still, is because it was UCLA and Purdue, but I still don't think a 4-2 team should be your number 6 team in college basketball.
Yeah, and I also don't think UCLA should be the number 5 team in the country right now. I mean they have a good freshman. They bring back pretty much everyone, but that team had more than 10 losses last year. That team was not great until they made a run in the tournament. They had one very good 5-game stretch, and that 5-game stretch made everybody think they're now the second best team in the country. That seems like a little bit of an overreaction to me. And I think at some point people are going to say like, oh, look at these teams beating UCLA. That's such a good win. Is it really such a good win? Because they lost to a lot of these teams last year too with the same guys.
I think it's the you got this good old-fashioned Cinderella story with UCLA. They're a 10 or 11 seed last year. They make it all the way down to the championship, I believe. Or was it the quarterfinals?
Final 4. They were
right,
an 11 seed because they beat Michigan. They had to come back just to beat Michigan State in the play-in game. If you don't come back to beat Michigan State in the play-in game, I mean, are they even higher than 20 right now? I don't think so.
No, and you have your matchup against Gonzaga, and you did not look like a competitive team. And that was the number 1 team in the country at the time.
Yeah, I mean they were missing one of their good forwards, so I'll give them that. I would like to see him back before I like fully make my decision on them. But I do think I don't think they're as good as everybody wants to make them out to be right now. I mean that could change. Teams always grow and get better as the season goes on. But as it sits right now, them being number 5. I don't agree with, but I mean, we're like right now, I want to look at who we think is going to be the number 1 team. Obviously, I think there's 4 teams here that have a claim to number 1. I mean, maybe not so much Gonzaga now because they already have the head-to-head loss against Duke, but they do still have the talent, I think, to finish the year as the number 1 team. But I think if we're just narrowing it down to 4 teams, my 4 teams at least, it's still got to be Duke because they have the big win. Purdue, just because they kind of return everybody, and they've already shown how good they can be against Villanova and North Carolina. Gonzaga, they'll have to wait till later in the season to try to get that back. And then Baylor. Like, Baylor still has – like, they won the championship last year. They still haven't lost. I think almost out of respect, I would have given them number 1 to start the year because it's like they didn't lose to anybody last year. They still bring back a good team. I mean, granted, they lose some guys, but like their coaching's good enough that they just reload. I would have at least let them start the year at number 1.
Yeah, let them lose it, especially after winning the championship.
Yeah, but outside of that, it just feels like a bunch of people that are. It doesn't feel like there's a real 2 line this year. It feels like there's the 4 teams that should be on the 1 line, and then pretty much 5 through 16. I could flip-flop any of those teams and not be mad at it.
It'll be interesting to keep watching Arizona play. I mean, they looked great against Michigan. They got the size, they got the shooting. I mean, they looked like a top team. I mean, it could speak more volumes about Michigan and their loss. But Arkansas – you could maybe see get up there. it'd be tough to see them be number one. Arizona, they're going to be up there in like the 2 conversation. It's just going to be, it's going to come down to consistency. I don't think this Kansas team is going to be a 1 or 2 seed. They're just not the same Kansas powerhouse that I'm used to. Kentucky, I don't know. It just, like you said, it just seems like those top 4 teams are the only ones you can for sure say are going to stay at the top this entire season.
Like if you tell me Alabama, Auburn, even Tennessee, maybe Florida, or like Arizona or Arkansas, like if you tell me those 4 teams end up finishing 5, 6, 7, and 8, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. They got the talent for that. But right now, if we're looking 5 through 8, it's UCLA, Nova, Texas, Kansas. That seems just like way more basketball powerhouse, name recognition. They can stay in the top 10 right now over like in Alabama where everybody's like, nah, they're just a football school. Sometimes they have decent years in basketball, but they won't be consistent enough to be in like the top 8. I think they will be. Like, I think they're shooting a hit way more than it misses. And granted, that doesn't make them a national championship contender for me because you're not going to hit shots at a crazy clip that many games in a row. But it makes them a top 2 seed for me.
Oh, absolutely. I'll say they got the skill set to do it and the offensive firepower to beat anyone. But can they? Can they consistently do it, especially after Iona just exposed them?
Yeah, and then if you have one that you want to mention, you can, but I got one team outside the top 25 that I think could probably end up deserving like a top 4 seed. Granted, they're not in a power conference, so they probably won't get ranked higher than like a 6 seed, but I swear Colorado State is like they're like the Alabama of the Mountain West, where they just rain threes. They hit them more than they miss them, and even with that, they still have like David Roddy. He will go inside and he'll beat you in the post. Like they still have a couple guys that can do that. If their threes aren't falling, they can win another way. And right now they're just on the outside of the top 25. I think they're sitting somewhere around 30. I think they could find their way up into the top 15. Like the Mountain West doesn't look as good as it usually does. There's still some teams there. Granted, Boise State had a bad loss in their last game, but they've already beat Ole Miss, which is a pretty good win for them. I think Nevada's going to come back, be pretty decent. San Diego State's still going to be up there. Like there's still teams, like Utah State is another good one. There's still teams out there, but I think Colorado State's just above the rest.
Yeah. And unfortunately, they're probably going to be one of those teams who get you 2 or 3 losses, maybe 4, and they're still only going to be an 8 seed.
Yeah.
It's just they don't get the respect.
Yeah, and I think the Mountain West is a good conference. Like I think it kind of goes like there's like those Power 5, or we'll call it a Power 6 now with the Big East. So you got the Power 6, you got the A10, and then I think right behind them it's usually the Mountain West. Or this year the WCC, because the WCC is very good this year. But I think it's like those 7 conferences, or those 6, and then those 3 are in a tier above the rest of the mid majors and like the smaller conferences.
You think I don't think Loyola Chicago's ranked anymore, but you think that team can make some noise again or get their few upsets?
I think they could, because I think they're going to run through the Missouri Valley almost kind of uncontested there. So I think Loyola is going to be good. I'm also when Santa Clara has their full team, I think it's Gonzaga first, and then it's St. Mary's, San Francisco, BYU, and Santa Clara, all within like this much of like a difference between each of those 4 teams. They're all they all have the talent to be in the top 25. If you just put a different name on the conference and gave me all those same teams, I think they could all be ranked by the end of the year. But because it says WCC next to their name, is going to be like Gonzaga and BYU ranked, and everybody else being like, oh, what's going on with San Francisco, who brings back everybody and is still undefeated, or Santa Clara, who's 6-1 with 3 really good wins already, and then like St. Mary's, who made it to the championship game of their tournament. They already have a win over Oregon. Like there should be at least 3. I could maybe even see 4 bids in that league, but by the time the committee gets to it and sees that they're not Power 5 teams, like if they get 2 teams in the tournament, that'll be good for them.
Yeah, it'll be hard getting 3 or 4 in there. I like St. Mary's a lot. I think St. Mary's is a team people are starting to pay a little bit more attention to this year. I mean, they've been who they lose to in the tournament in the finals?
Wisconsin.
They did. Yep, that's what it was. It was Wisconsin.
Wisconsin in the championship.
Yeah, which is a good loss.
Right now, yeah, it is. I think Wisconsin will get beat up in their conference, but looking at it right now, it's a top 25 win technically. I mean, Wisconsin's ranked 23rd right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Here it's actually coming up on 7 o'clock. I just want to give the people some of our picks, if you got them ready.
Yeah, I think one game I'm on today is Minnesota -2 on the road against Pitt. I don't think Pitt's good at all. I mean, their offense is not good. They're 2-3 at home this season. So the people who are saying, "Oh, Minnesota on the road, that's tough." Pitt doesn't play tough at home. It's you could say it's a good environment to play in, but this 6-0 Minnesota team, they're pretty good. I mean, they got 2 guys who are averaging. One guy, I think, they got 2 new guards that came in. And what was funny then when I was looking at it earlier is this guy played for Minnesota 2 years ago. I'd have to pull a name for you. But 2 years ago, played for Minnesota, transfers, and then transfers back to play for him again. But Minnesota's already covered the spread twice on the road this year. Doing it at Pitt, I don't think it's going to be that much of a challenge.
So you got this more as like a fade Pitt spot, or like you actually like Minnesota? Because I would use it as a fade Pitt, like just like blindly kind of fading them. But I went through that Minnesota roster. They had like 10 guys transfer out and like 8 guys transfer in. Yeah. So this is essentially just a brand new team. Like I still can't be ready to bet them when they haven't played like any or outside of maybe like Western Kentucky. I think that's probably their best win, and they won by 4. Like I think if they beat Pitt, then I can trust them to beat some of the other bad Power 5s, but I'm not ready to like ride them yet. Yeah, the Western Kentucky was definitely their only good win.
But like I'd say it's 50-50, maybe more 40-60, a 60% fade Pitt. But I do like what I'm seeing from the guys that Minnesota has brought in. I mean, they got 2 guys who are averaging more than 15 points a game right now. But like you pointed out, who are they playing? They're playing Jacksonville, Fort Wayne, Princeton, and Princeton put up 80 points on them. But I think the
offense is scary.
What'd you say?
The Princeton offense, man. Everybody always talks about it. That's tough to guard.
Yeah, so I mean, Princeton lost to Vanderbilt. I mean, they let Scottie Pippen Jr. do what he needed to do to face them. But no, I'm fading Pitt here. I think that -2 is what I have it at right now on my book. I think that's one that I'm going to lie. And I don't like betting big numbers, but West Virginia -16.5 seems way too easy. That's first half.
Over
16.5. I got West Virginia minus 16.5 at minus 118. Said they're playing
Bellarmine, yeah.
Bellarmine, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a team they might keep it within 6 to 8 points in the first half, but I just think West Virginia is able to get this pretty easily.
Yeah, I ended up watching a little bit more Bellarmine than I wanted to last year. The one thing I noticed about that offense, and I think they bring a fair amount of guys back, is they're really they're not super talented, but they're very efficient. Is like the thing they do well. So like they can beat or stay a little bit closer to more talented teams just by not turning it over as much and
Yep.
getting good looks.
And
I think West Virginia can still overwhelm them, but Bellarmine's not a team I enjoy going against.
yeah, so Bellarmine, an interesting stat that I saw, they turn the ball over on 21% of their possessions, and West Virginia leads the entire country in defensive turnovers right now. That just to me speaks like a recipe for disaster, and that's why I'm on that side.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna run through mine real fast here. I'm not a huge fan of Charlotte, so give me Davidson minus 4.5. I think Syracuse's defense, the zone just hasn't been good this year, and Trace Jackson Davis has the range to expose that zone like right around the free throw area. Plus, Trace Jackson Davis has been absolutely dominating pretty much everybody he's played against all year.
Oh, yeah.
I love Indiana minus 2.5. I think I might be falling into a trap with Clemson, but for that Clemson Rutgers game to be a pick'em, I think Clemson has a much better offense, and Rutgers should still be missing one of their stars in Geo Baker. Like I
Yep.
think Clemson definitely wins this game, and it's the game a lot of people have been talking about. Some people think it's a trap, kind of a letdown spot. I'm not ready to go against this team yet. It's Duke minus 2 for me.
I'm on the same side you are. I looked earlier and it says 98% of the money is on Duke, but I don't care. Ohio State hasn't shown me that they're a really good basketball team. And someone brought up, like, well, look at how Gonzaga played last night. This Tarleton State team played Kansas close, Michigan close, Gonzaga close. I mean, I don't want to discredit the guys who are 1-5 that you've never heard of, but I mean, maybe they're a bad good team or a good bad team.
Yeah, and I mean, I say it every year. I always think Ohio State is fake good every single year. I think this year they finally gave themselves a tough out of conference schedule, and they already have 2 losses. Usually they have an easy out of conference schedule. They get ranked super high, and they fall apart in Big Ten play. I think this is like the same thing, but now that they're playing real teams, they get exposed by real teams.
You still might have your 25 points from EJ Liddell because, I mean, he is good, but he's the only guy on Ohio State who's averaging double digits. Kyle Young is next, averaging 9, but you need him to shoot like 7 threes and maybe make 2 or 3 of them and hope they go in. But another game I'm on, this one's after. It's not a 7:00 game. Purdue minus 11.5. I don't know if a lot of people know this because I haven't heard anybody talk about it yet, but Florida State's got 3 players out today. So Raekwon Evans, I don't know if you heard about what happened with him. His brother actually passed away, so he's out of this game. Tanner Nagome, he's out. He's their starting center. And then their backup center, Naheem McLeod, he's also out. So you're talking 3 dudes who are playing double-digit minutes every single game are out against Purdue. I think minus 11.5 is at home, and you're now the number 2 team. I think that's just too easy.
Yeah, and you can't be missing big guys against Purdue because
No.
Zach Edey will absolutely feast today, and Trevion Williams will just body whoever they want to try to put against him in the paint.
Yep, and you
So
can't forget about
it
Caleb Furr either.
yeah, and that freshman. And so
Yeah,
like I don't think it's gonna be pretty by any means because Purdue's just gonna try to hit twos to death on them. Like it's not something where they're just gonna come out just like bang a few threes real quick and go up by 10 real early. Like it's gonna be a grind to get it over that 11 and a half. But Purdue's the more talented team. They're deeper, and Florida State's just that much thinner with those guys out. I think you won't be sweating that much at the end of the game, but it'll kind of be annoying when Purdue's up by say like 5 at the end of the first half, and you're
yeah.
just like,
Florida
come on,
State's always they always got size and they always got good defense. Just some hard nosed basketball players. They'll keep it close, like you said, probably in the first half, but I think it's going to come down to a 7-0 opening out of the second half, and then they're just fighting to get back in the game the rest of the game.
Yep. And then I think the last thing we're going to talk about so people can get to their college basketball games that are starting now is I think let's just touch on that Big Ten ACC challenge real quick.
Okay.
Pretty much all the games are just happening today and tomorrow. Well, this is sad already. Within 5 minutes of the game starting, Syracuse went on a 7-0 run to start the game. Love to see it. It's great. But so today it's Indiana, Syracuse, Minnesota, Pittsburgh that just started. And then you touched on Purdue, Florida State. I touched on Clemson, Rutgers. We touched on Duke, Ohio State. The only other game that we didn't talk about that's happening today, Northwestern, Wake Forest at 9:00. Feels pretty gross, but Northwestern's 5-1, and Wake Forest is 6-1 with their only loss coming to LSU.
I just think both teams, they're not games that you really want to watch, even though they got good records. That might be something you could place a bet on, and then before you go to bed, check and see if it cashed. But I probably won't check the score unless it rolls across the bottom of the TV screen.
Yeah, pretty much. I heard Northwestern's supposed to be improved over last year, and Wake is just, I mean, they're just Wake Forest. They beat Oregon State in overtime, but Oregon State's really flopped after their run in the NCAA tournament last year, and then they lost to LSU. I mean, Northwestern beat Georgia but lost to Providence, who's not supposed to be all that great in the Big East this year.
And I don't think
I don't know, Wake -2, it feels like a good line. I could see Northwestern winning. So if I take anything, I would take Northwestern money line, but
one thing I
I
pay
don't
attention to in games like this is who's got the better guards, and it's definitely Wake Forest. I mean, they got in Alondes Williams. I mean, he's really good. So I think that alone, looking at that one-on-one matchup, you could side with the -2 on Wake, but I'm probably going to stay off of it.
Yeah.
But this could also be one of those games where Wake Forest goes out and wins by like 11 points.
Yeah, I think this one I think this challenge as a whole is which team is closer to not having a down year as a conference this year. Because neither team has really impressed as a whole as a conference on either side. So I think whichever conference also loses this challenge, it's kind of like, damn, you guys are usually usually get like 5 or 6 teams in. Maybe this year it should be closer to 3 or 4 because I think the top end of both of these conferences pretty good. Duke, Purdue, those kind of teams, like they're good, but the bottom of each is real bad. Like Penn State, not good. Miami's got some guys, but that's like they're not that good. And then both Minnesota and Pittsburgh, I think, are bad. I think Northwestern and Wake Forest will both end up towards the bottom of each of their conferences. Rutgers, I feel bad saying it, but I know he's not watching today because he's at the game.
Goose.
Yeah, I do not think Rutgers has the offense to do it this year.
They
Like,
got a
I have
couple
not.
good guards, but that's about it. I mean,
Yeah,
they've showed at the end of these games that they've played so far this season that they can't hang on to a lead. I mean, I think it was St. John's that they played already. Or was it
no, they played DePaul. They
DePaul?
lost to
That's who it
DePaul.
was. Yeah. Yep. And I mean that was ugly.
Yeah, you can't lose to DePaul ever. If you're a Power 5 team and you lose to DePaul, you got problems.
Right.
But not so for the games for tomorrow. I think the games tomorrow are probably going to end up being better than the games today with Michigan, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Louisville, Michigan State, and then you also got Nebraska, North Carolina State, Wisconsin, Georgia Tech, Miami, Penn State.
Yeah, the
Shoot,
Miami Penn State game.
I see a line on that Miami Penn State game. I like a lot.
Yeah,
My
what's
Penn
that?
State's favored by 5.5. I think Miami has more talent than Penn State does. I
Yeah.
like Miami money line. Get them like just over plus 200. That could be a nice little hit at the end of tomorrow night.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to talk about any games that kind of catch your eye, go ahead, and then
So you froze up on me, but
I'll just talk about.
no, that's fine. But the only game obviously I'm going to talk about right now, just because I'm a Michigan fan, is at Michigan, North Carolina. You got two teams who are 4-2, and it's a must-win spot for both guys to prove himself. It's at North Carolina, which scares me, and it's going to come down to guard play.
Good
And
episode.
If Michigan could shoot 5 threes.
Sorry we didn't get to end it the way I wanted to end it, but I think I'm just gonna call it here.
Oh, did it freeze up?
If D-Rock can, if my connection lets him get back into. Oh, wait, are you back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think it's bad connection on my end, so
Okay.
I think we're just gonna. I think we'll each just sign off and we'll just go like that because I don't want people seeing something with like bad connection where we're just all over the place. So this was another episode of the Paid for Play College Basketball. I'm Stephen Carlson. You can follow me right there, Stephen Carlson 97, and this was D-Rock Sports Bet.
Yeah, follow me right there.
You can follow him right there. He'll you'll be back to come on as a guest with me and Rex here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, man. Sounds good, bro. I'll see you later.
See you guys.